The collapse of Rome's money. How an empire was weakened from within. When people think about the fall of Rome, they imagine barbarians invading the city, armies collapsing, or emperors fighting for power. But great empires do not fall only because of external enemies. Sometimes the real destruction begins from within. And for Rome, one of the most damaging forces was the collapse of its money. For centuries, the backbone of the Roman economy was the silver denarius. It was trusted across the empire. Soldiers were paid with it, merchants used it in trade, and ordinary people stored their wealth with it. The denarius was more than a coin. It represented the trust people had in Rome itself. But maintaining such a massive empire was expensive. Armies needed payment, borders needed protection, roads and cities needed construction, and wars required constant funding. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was under enormous pressure. Military costs were rising, while tax revenues were no longer enough. Instead of increasing taxes, emperors chose another solution, reducing the value of the currency. They lowered the amount of silver inside the denarius. At first, this seemed like an easy way to solve financial problems, but it slowly destroyed trust in Roman money. Under Emperor Augustus, the denarius contained around 95% silver. Centuries later, during the 3rd century, its silver content had fallen dramatically, in some periods dropping below 5%. A coin that was once valuable silver had become almost worthless metal, covered with a thin layer of silver. People noticed. As the value of money declined, prices increased. Soldiers demanded higher wages, merchants refused weaker coins, and some communities returned to barter because they no longer trusted the currency. The biggest problem was not only inflation, it was the loss of confidence. As trust disappeared, emperors produced even more coins. But creating more money only made the problem worse. This cycle contributed to the crisis of the 3rd century, a period between 235 and 284 AD, when Rome faced civil wars, invasions, political instability, and economic collapse. Behind the chaos was a broken financial system. Farmers struggled with heavy taxes, trade weakened, and the government searched for desperate solutions. Emperor Diocletian attempted to control the crisis by introducing the edict on maximum prices in 301 AD. The law tried to fix the prices of hundreds of goods and services, but laws could not restore value to a currency that people no longer trusted. Black markets grew, and the economy continued to suffer. Eventually, Rome abandoned the old denarius system. Constantine the Great introduced the gold solidus, which brought some stability. However, the Western Roman Empire had already been severely weakened. Rome did not collapse in a single day. Its fall was the result of many problems building over generations, political struggles, military pressure, and economic decline. The collapse of its currency was one of the clearest signs that the empire was losing its strength, and Rome was not the only example. Centuries later, similar patterns appeared again. After World War I, Germany printed huge amounts of money to deal with economic problems, leading to extreme inflation and the destruction of people's savings. The lesson is simple. Money depends on trust. A currency has value because people believe it will still have value tomorrow. Rome's story shows that even the greatest empires can become fragile when the systems supporting them begin to fail. History does not always repeat itself, but the same mistakes can create similar consequences. Rome left behind more than ruins and stories of conquest. It left a warning. An empire can survive many enemies, but when trust disappears, even the strongest civilizations can begin to fall from within.